All right, good morning, guys. Today is April 10th, and as usual, we'll be analyzing US 30, gold, and EU. Last week I did say that over the next few days, our live sessions will start a little bit late because I have to join some other meeting at 9:30. So, but we shouldn't really miss anything because remember the first 5 or 10 minutes of New York Open normally is a bunch of consolidation. So on Friday, when is it? So on Friday, we did take two trades for news trading, and news played out exactly how we analyzed it. I missed the first trade, but I hope some of you guys took it. The second trade I was holding and I held over the weekend, but US 30 gapped down and got taken out of that trade at break even. So on Friday, if you guys traded with me, you either made 0.5% or 1%. Because if you took both trades, you should have been up 1% for the day. So for the analysis today, let's see US 30. You can see the chart on my right is the hourly chart, and US 30 has just been consolidating on the hourly. But we do have prices below the 9 EMA on the hourly, or price close below the 9 EMA. This spike up came to ideally retest the 9 EMA on the hourly. Let's see. So US 30 bounced off of a daily bearish low. So keep in mind, I always tell you guys, they definitely can use bearish zones as bullish zones, because as you can see, US 30 came, tested the daily bearish low, and then again reversed to the upside. So for any sell, we would need our price to close below the 9 EMA and below the daily bearish low. But right now you can see US 30 is pretty much in demand zones. So that's how you see all these green markups or shadings. We have an hourly bullish high, hourly bullish low, and also we do have what this is a 4-hour bearish low up here. So we do have a 4-hour bearish low up here where US 30 is rejecting from. So what I'll do right now, I'll go and draw my trend lines. So I can see a hanging trend line on the 5-minute. So just a hanging trend line there. But if we go on the 1-minute, this trend line should be established, because remember, trend lines should always originate from an established structural area. So this trend line is coming from a higher high down to another higher high. So it doesn't always have to go like higher high to lower high, or lower low to lower to high low. So long as the structure is established and you can see the trend, don't worry about if it's a downtrend coming from a higher high to a lower high. Just make sure that it's coming from an established structure down to another established structure. So on the 5-minute, this is still a hanging trend line. So I do see, what is this? So US 30 right now, I am bullish on US 30. Ideally, because even on the 5-minute, prices above the 9 EMA, we are in demand zones. We do have a 4-hour bearish high here. I think this is a 4-hour bearish high. It's ideally similar to an hourly bullish high. So let's see right here. We do have a 30-minute. So we do have Friday low right here. And we do have a 30-minute bullish high and 15-minute bullish high. So let's see. I'll also use I'll give you guys extended access to this indicators for you guys who give me your MT4s, because I'm trying to do something, a few more things with the group. So I'll give you guys extended access for another 2 or 3 weeks, because I know the trial period was supposed to expire this week. Okay, so you can see that we are in a sell trend. The trend right here is a sell. So ideally for a buy, we need price to close above this trend line. And ideally, if price does come close above and retest, so we need a closure above the trend line, then we need a retest of the trend line and closure above. And at that point, I will be entering a buy because ideally it will also line up with this hourly bullish high. So that's what I'll be looking for. The only other thing, we do have also a 4-hour bearish high around that zone. So this trade might also be a little bit risky. But right now, due to all these demand zones that US 30 is in, to me, I'm looking for buys on US 30, but I have to wait for closure above the trend line and retest of the trend line. And there you go. I wanted to enter like an early sell, like at this rejection of the 15-minute bullish high and low, but there's no need to just form into a trade. Because you can see definitely we do have sellers up there. So that's why I need closure above that trend line and retest of the trend line, because we do have that 4-hour bearish high there. Now, if this trend line to the downside does hold, I can look to shift my bias. But right now, I'll look for buys on US 30. So I'll just put this aside somewhere around here. Gold. This is a 30-minute. So gold is pretty much bearish. If you guys caught the sell signal, so we did have like a nice sell signal on gold, and I think US 30 and NAS 100, and that pretty much went straight. I think it had a little bit of retracement, like 10 pips or 20 pips, but that went straight into TP. Okay, so looking at the hourly time frame, so we did have gold create this, what is it? It's not a proper head and shoulders per se, like how I would like to see it, but I did say that gold was creating a possible head and shoulders last week. So you have this higher high, that's the left shoulder. Then you have this other higher high, that's the head. And then you have this lower high, that's the right shoulder. So looking at where gold is likely to head, gold is likely, so remember this instrument's almost always complete structure. So at the very, so this structure right here should be completed at around 1952. So I do expect gold to come down to 1952. But in the short term, we do have this structure to the left that's around 1979. And you can see we do have 4-hour bullish zones, a 4-hour bullish zone there and an hourly bullish zone. So this at around 1980, 1978, this is where they might pick up liquidity to push price, because I still expect gold to go around 2050 or 2070. So gold might either come down here. So let me just use this tool to illustrate. And hopefully I'm not missing US 30. Okay, good. Let's see. So gold might come here, do some ranging. So if it's to go all the way back up, this is the area that they might use to pick up liquidity for a move to the upside. But here you can see we are about to form a death cross on gold on the hourly. So to me, this is what is more likely to happen. So range here, consolidate. If they don't break structure to the upside here, this death cross will give, this death cross can give momentum to any sells we choose to take, and possibly breaking that bullish or bearish zones. But anyway, I'm only looking for 50 pips on gold. So I'll do the same here. I'll come in here, draw a trend line from this higher high to this lower high. Right now, we only have one trend line for gold. Let's see, I don't have any other trend lines. So a sell ideally would be a retest of this trend line. So price is pretty much far away from that. So I don't see any trades for gold. EU, let's see, EU on the 5-minute. Okay, so ideally we need to look at where price is likely to head, right? So EU is pretty much tanking. We just formed a death cross on EU on the hourly time frame. So same thing, right? So EU is supposed or should complete structure at around 1.09, 1.07918. And if you look on the chart, on the 5-minute chart, this is around where we do have a 4-hour bullish high and bullish low. So I do see a buy on EU coming up. So what we'll do, just break this zone into two. So we do have this 4-hour bullish high here. And then the 4-hour bullish low. Let me see. Okay, just ignore that weekly low because I don't start marking up weekly lows. Ignore. So today is Monday. Okay, so yes, last week's Monday low can stay there. I think we do have a previous weekly low. Okay, this would be a perfect buy for EU. So I wouldn't really try and even chase the sell. It's just better to wait for EU to drop down here, but it should come down here. Unfortunately, I don't have any sell. Okay, there goes US 30, right? Broke the so let's just focus on US 30 for now. So we need this candle to break above and to close above, and then we need the next candle to test that trend line and then close above, and at that point I will enter into a buy on US 30. So initially this is the trade I wanted to take down here, but it was risky for me. I wanted to take it off of this 15-minute bullish high and 30-minute bullish low. But ideally it's just pretty much just waiting and following the strategies. So ideally we have another 7 minutes before we can enter into this trade. So I'll keep waiting and be on the lookout for that. But I do see an amazing buy on EU. So let's see, this is 81. I'll call this 81.40. The bottom of this zone is 40. So let's see. Just a second. I just want to see how big of a zone this is. And ideally our TP and stop loss for such trades is 20 pips stop loss, 20 pips take profit. Okay, so this zone is ideally, I would say 25 pips. So it might be better to go with a 30 pip stop loss. Let's see how far the 30 pip stop loss will be and 30 pip take profit. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll just break this zone into two, and then we'll do, so we haven't done this in a while, like where we do a filler trade first, and then we have the second trade, and then we have the last trade. 81.40, so call this 900. So 20, so it was a 25 pip zone, so this would be half of that would be like 12 pips. Okay. All right. So whatever half of 1.08140 and 1.07885 is, and then we have 3 trades, right? So when price does come up here, so this is your filler trade, and ideally a filler trade, use a smaller lot size, preferably a bigger stop loss, so you can go for 50 pips, take profit, 50 pips stop loss. And then the next trade, which is ideally a bigger trade, let's see, is in the middle of that zone. Now this one, you can do, let's see what a 20 pip zone would look like. So I would say maybe a 30 pip stop loss, 30 pip take profit here. So this would be a bigger lot size, and then the biggest lot size would be the very bottom of that channel. So to me, this trade at the bottom, so this trade at around the 4-hour bullish low. So we also have a previous weekly low. We also have the last week's Monday low. So to me, this is the best trade. So anywhere around 1.0 7,900 area. So to me, that's a better trade. So this is where you'd go for 20 pips stop loss, 20 pips take profit. Yeah, but you do see we do have a lot of demand zones at the bottom. So I'll just wait for EU to come up here. So remember, when you filled in the filler trade, you don't want price to go against you heavily. So that's how you know the trade setups are good. But if price does come, let me check US 30. Okay, so that candle did close. So keep in mind, price should ideally retrace back here and retest this trend line. So don't worry that price has gone so far up from the trend line. So just let price play out. And this is how you know. So this trend line held, it held here, and it just got broken through. So we do have a golden cross that's coming up on US 30 on the 5-minute. So remember, for golden crosses, price normally comes back to retest the 9 EMA. Even for death crosses, price normally goes up to retest the 200 EMA. So I do expect US 30 to still come down in the near term, test this trend line, and then at that point, that's when I'll be buying US 30. But for now, I'll just keep waiting. But I do see this EU buy coming in. So let's see if we'll be able to take anything. Does anybody have any questions? 486, 466. And hopefully I'm not muted. So ideally nothing. So gold, for me to sell gold has to come all the way up and test this trend line. And then at that point, I'll sell gold. So EU is pretty much far away from our entries. I'll just wait on US 30. So US 30 is approaching a supply level. So this is an area where they can use price, or they can use to bring price back down and then grab more liquidity here for a buy. Trying to see if I can find a possible way to write it back down. The only thing with trying to catch a sell here to write price back down in order for us to buy from the trend line. So you do see we have a weekly bullish low here. So remember, the weekly and the daily, and I think starting tomorrow I'll start marking up the monthly order blocks. So those zones rarely come up. So when they do come up, price normally reacts heavily to them. So you can see here, this daily bearish low, they used it as a bullish zone. So that's why you always want to wait for confirmation. And you can see price is heavily trending up. So yeah, I'm not going to try to sell US 30 in the supply zones, primarily because of this weekly bullish low. And you can see that we do have a supply zone within a supply zone, and that literally lines up with the weekly bullish low. So I would just rather wait for price to come back to the downside, and then at that point I will look to buy US 30.
Hey, Michael, you know what just came to me? Is because normally, like, I would probably sell it down, but it just came to me as just wait and trade with the trend. And then and so now I understand the word patience in regards to Forex.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, because
I mean, I know it might seem simple, but I'm just, new to this thing. But yeah, patience. So that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah, definitely, like a lot of patience, because like this, I wanted to call this trade, but I was like, I haven't drawn my trend line. I haven't drawn anything. So as much as we could have easily won this trade, I don't want to win a trade that didn't make sense to me, or I did not have any confluences. But I do know, like, I like this momentum to the upside for US 30, right? I also have this golden cross coming up. Look at that hourly candle, right? It's almost closing. It should close above the 9 EMA. So to me, you know, we do have buyers in town. So ideally, it's just waiting for that perfect opportunity. And then you just get your price filled in. So this trend line, so here's the other thing, right? You want trend lines to hold. So ideally, I would say delete this trend line. So remember, a static trend line on the 5-minute has to have established structures. So established higher high, higher low, or lower low, or high low, or whatnot. So at this point, it would still work to write price up, but at this point, this trend line is invalid. It's invalid because price broke above. Unfortunately, we haven't had a retest of this trend line to even confirm more validity of it. I do see this golden cross coming up. I do see this weekly bullish low coming up. So at this point, I don't see price retracing this far back down to the trend line. So what I'll do here, I will delete that trend line, and then I'll start looking for another possible trend line. So right now, we don't have any trend line on the 5-minute as is, but on the 1-minute, I'm pretty sure we'll have like a lower high or a higher high around this zone. So even on the 1-minute, nothing is established. So this is ideally just a matter of patience. So, but I'm liking the EU buy more. So this is when EU does come in here, I will probably go in with a heavier lot size. So I'm liking the EU setup more than the US 30 setups. So this is it's just a matter of patience. So here we'll probably have to set pending buy orders for EU. Gold, let's see. We should get some reaction around this zone. And you do see we have like a lot of demand zones. So between 1983 and 1976, we should get some buy momentum on gold. But remember, until I'm still bearish on gold for now, but for me to take a sell on gold, I need this established trend line on the 5-minute to be retested. And look at that, right? So we do have a 4-hour bearish high here. So gold can so right now it's pretty much consolidating. So it can do this, pick up liquidity from the 4-hour bullish high, and then retest the trend line, which would line up with the 4-hour bearish high. And then gold comes back down. Oh, I'm sorry. Gold comes back down. Just dropped my mouse. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for on gold. US 30. 4-hour bearish high, 15-minute. So we are in bearish zones right now, but when I'm trading, I like trading with a trend nowadays. So unless something is clear. Now, if we did have an established trend line, I would take a sell. But so long as we don't have an established trend line, and again, keep in mind, we have a golden cross coming up for US 30 on the 5-minute. So in any case, so for this buy, since we cleared out the other trend lines, so remember our entries are either off of trend lines, off of retest of 9 EMA, or off of structure. So the nearest structure is this lower low to the left. But so that would be an entry. However, right, we are looking for the best entry or for the optimal entry. So the optimal entry would be retest of the 9 EMA, because that ideally would save us 468 would save us about 20 pips. So our stop loss is 50 pips. So if you can save yourself 20 pips, that's better. So we just need to wait for US 30 to retest this 9 EMA. Yeah, EU's yeah. So now is the time to ask any questions you guys have, because ideally, and also we do have a bunch of bank holidays today, so liquidity might also start dying out. Let's see. Yeah, so we have GBP or London holiday. We have Yeah, so we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bank holidays. If we don't catch a trade today, that's fine. Remember, we don't have to trade every day, and you guys have access to you guys have access to the signals, so you can be able to make some money from the signals, because like today's signals, like for the sells, so I see we had a Euro USD sell. I know we had this gold sell, and I'll also look at how the account that's taking my signals is doing. I was up like 1% this morning just from the signals, because I have an account that's taking all of those, well, not all of those, but the good signals. Well, let me not put it that way. I have an account that's taking, so ideally how my copier is working, if I get 2 buy signals, so let's say I get a 15-minute US30 buy and then I get a 5-minute US30 buy, ideally it doesn't increase or it doesn't add another buy. So ideally, okay, let me put it this way. If I'm in 2 positions for any instrument, so whether it's a US30 buy and a US30 sell, and I get another buy, it won't take that signal until one of those positions closes. So same thing, if I'm in 2 sells for gold or US30 or whatnot, and it gets another sell or even a buy signal, it won't take that. So that's what I mean. My copier doesn't take all the signals, so it only takes 2 signals per instrument, whether it's a buy and a buy, whether it's a sell and a sell, or whether it's a buy and a sell. So I'm already up like 1% for the day just from the signals alone. And that's just one account that I'm using to take the signals. But on my main account, I have no trades for the day because I only trade manually on my main account. Yeah, so right here, liquidity is definitely dying out, but we need some sell side liquidity and then a retest of the 9 EMA. And then at that point, we will enter into a buy. But right now, I'm not sure we're even gonna get that. Because even on the 1 minute, yeah. So on the 1 minute, price is about to close below the 9 EMA. So this is what we want for. So for our buy right here, we want price to start dipping. There definitely are sell zones right here. Now, if it aligns with any of your confluences, so remember, we do have a 4-hour bearish high. We do have a 15-minute bearish low. We do have a 15-minute bearish high. So keep in mind, if that aligns with your confluences, feel free to enter sells on US30. But for me, the reason I'm not entering sells on US30 is that the momentum is pretty much for a buy. We do have a weekly bullish low here. If I'm in a sell here and price comes around the weekly bullish low, I would be pretty much regretting why I entered the sell, because when price comes up here, we are more than likely going to have a surge in liquidity. So for me, this is the best thing. As much as I'm not entering any sells, I want to see this sell pressure happening so that I can catch US30 on the retest of the 9 EMA. But remember, my ideal trade for today will be this 3 EU buys at around this 4-hour bullish high and 4-hour bullish low. So these are the ideal entries I'm looking for the day. So it doesn't matter if I don't catch any trades for US30, because I will enter the EU buys when EU comes down there. Okay, so this is what we want. So right now it's testing the 200 EMA and the structure right there. So that's one entry right there. But for the optimal entry, we want the retest of the 9 EMA. Let's see, still coming down. That's what we want. Now here we want this candle to close. So the candle that will retest the 9 EMA, we want that candle to close above the 9 EMA. So you can enter on impulse. The only issue with entering on impulse is that that candle can keep dipping to the downside. However, in my experience, if a golden cross or if death cross is to materialize, the candle does not so you do have some points where the golden cross or the death cross doesn't materialize, and then you can just have this candle melt to the downside. But ideally, we want this candle to retest the 9 EMA and close above for a buy on US 30. No, I'm good, thanks. Okay, there it is. Okay, perfect. That's what we want to see. Only other thing is that we do have an hourly bearish low here. Okay, so with this buy right here, so see how this candle that's currently running is tested the hourly bearish high exactly to the pip. And here we do have this hourly bearish low. So see, we do have an hourly bullish low. However, we do have some demand. I want to see how far this stop loss would go. Okay, yeah, so for this trade, I'll just risk, but I'm only entering if this candle closes above the 9 EMA, but I'll go ahead and risk 0.5% for that trade. If this candle does not close above the 9 EMA, I will not take that buy on US 30. And we do have, like, looking at my MT4, I do see a bunch of trend lines. No, that's on gold. I don't have any. Okay, so we do have a trend line here on the 5-minute. So keep in mind, price has to close above the 9 EMA for any buy there. Let me change my risk here. All right. If it closes below the 9 EMA, I will not take an entry. Yeah, looks like it's gonna close below the 9 EMA. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I'm not taking it. So reason why I'm not taking it, it closed below the 9 EMA. We do have a hourly bearish high here, hourly bearish low that got tested to the pip. All right, so on the 1-minute, we do have an established trend line. On the 5-minute, this is a hanging trend line. Okay, now for me to re-enter or to enter this buy, I need a 5-minute candle to close above the 9 EMA, and then I need the next candle to retest and close above. However, if we do get a candle test, if we do get a candle closing above the 9 EMA here on the 5-minute, on the next candle, I won't wait for that candle to retest. I won't wait for the closure of that candle. I'll just wait for the perfect retest of the 9 EMA, and at that point, I'll just hop in on impulse. Because ideally, if this golden cross, so if this golden cross is to materialize, right now you don't have to wait for 2 candle closures, right? Because if you wait, so you just wait for the first 5-minute candle to close above, right? The next 5-minute candle, yes, it would be safer if you waited for it to retest and close above. However, here what they're just doing is ideally picking up liquidity, and then for this golden cross to materialize, you'll have just a major spike in liquidity. So I do see that if we do get a candle closure above the 9 EMA right now, the next candle will ideally just spike all the way up. So that's what I'm saying. At that point, that's when I'll enter on impulse only for this particular trade. But I need this candle to close above the 9 EMA, or whatever candle to close above the 9 EMA. And then for the next candle on the retest of the 9 EMA, I will buy on impulse. But until then, I'll just stay out of the market. And ideally, this is what I'm looking for, this EU trade. And I like seeing this. So I like seeing this meltdown of EU. Gold still consolidating. If anyone has any questions, now would be the time to ask as we wait for these trades. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think we'll get any trades. So for these 3 trades, the first filler buy on EU is at 1.08139. So plus or minus 2 pips or whatnot, just in that range. The next buy, pending buy on EU is around 1.08015, plus or minus 1 or 2 pips. Then the next, the last pending order on EU is around 1.07890. So those are the areas for which even I will be setting my pending buys on EU. So just to reiterate, right? So how we deal with these zones, let me use this. So ideally we want price to come down, right? So once you get tagged in to this order, so this is your filler trade, 50 pips stop loss, 50 pips take profit. For a filler trade, maybe do risk of about 0.125 or 0.25%. So what you want here is a good retracement to the upside with little to no drawdown when price comes up here. Now, if price keeps going, trending to the downside, at that point, cancel your second or pretty much switch up your 2 remaining orders. So if price just continues melting down here without any good retracement, go ahead and delete this last pending order and replace it with this second pending order. But ideally, if this plays out and price comes back down, you're not going to enter your first order here. At that point, you enter your second or your first order here. So for this one, you don't have to use a filler trade because this analysis already played out, right? This is how you know this. Our filler trade is just to show us whether our analysis is correct or not and how to change that for the other pending orders. So when price comes down here, you don't have to do a filler trade for this trade. This will be your first trade. You can risk maybe 0.5% on that trade. Again, you don't want price going heavily against you in this zone. If that happens, go ahead and delete this order. So ideally, when price comes around here, maybe a little drawdown, and then you want price to trend to the upside, and then same thing, right? When price comes back down, keep in mind, you need to secure your profits as this happens, right? When price comes back down, you enter your last trade. This is ideally your bigger lot, maybe a 0.5 or 0.75 risk, and then you write price to your TP, which should hit almost instantaneously. So that's what we are looking for that EU trade. Okay. So this candle did not close above, close below, but this candle is closing above. So remember what I told you guys. So this would have been the same if this candle would have closed above. So remember when I told you guys, when this thing is materializing the golden cross, you normally have a bust in liquidity. So for this one, I need this to close above, and then I will enter on the retest of the 9 EMA by the next candle. So this is pretty much a patience game. And look at that. So this trend line has already been established on the 5-minute. We have a higher high, we have a lower high. That is what I like. I like trading in established or with established trend lines and in these zones. We just need a closure above the 9 EMA, hopefully not too far up. And then we need a retest of that 9 EMA. So if this closes above, I will not wait for the closure of the 9 EMA on the next candle. I'll just wait for a retest of the 9 EMA and I will enter on impulse. Okay, if it does that, well and good. So keep in mind, when golden crosses and death crosses are forming, you have a bust in liquidity. So if that happens, well and good, I'll find another entry. Only thing is that I just don't want to FOMO into any trade. For this trade, if you can change your trade to have 100 pip stop loss, go ahead and do that and enter on impulse. But for me, since I have a 50 pip stop loss, I need a retest of this 9 EMA. But if you can be able to change your stop loss and TP to about 100 pips, TP and 100 pip stop loss, before this candle closes, you can go ahead and do that. You know what? I think I'll do the same. And then let's see. I think that's 10 pips. That's 100 pips, right? Yeah. Okay. So I am buying US30 right now. Okay. So I'm in this buy, but I do have a 100 pip TP and stop. So ideally still risking 0.5%. I might just scale in. Ideally, the reason I did that was because this golden cross is about to come and probably more than likely take US 30 off the roof. So that is why I did enter. I'm now waiting for the retest of the 9 EMA because we did have a closure. Now we did have a closure above the 9 EMA and 200 EMA. Is it likely that price is going to come back and retest the 9 EMA? Sure. But I think it's more likely that we'll have a bust up in price. So that's why I just increased my stop loss and take profit. And ideally, I'm still risking 0.5% in this trade. So I'm currently in that US 30 buy. We just need this golden cross to come up. So long as we break this hourly bearish high and bearish low, we might have some retracement from where we have the trend line because it also lines up with a 4-hour bearish high. However, what we need price to break above the trend line and come into the weekly bullish low, which at that point, we should have almost an instantaneous take profit. But right now the trade is in profit, 10 pips or so. And there you go. So that's one reason why I didn't want to wait for the retest of the 9 EMA. 20 pips in profit. Let's see what's going on with EU. So EU is still melting. So coming to our entries. So I'm more focused, or what I really want to catch is the EU trade. Gold is still melting. So keep in mind, right, where is price likely to go? We do have a bunch of demand zones right here. So I did tell you between 1983 and 1976, that's a buy zone for gold. US 30, there you go, pumping up. So we need to break this lower high and break this trend line. So and you can see where US 30 is rejecting from. It's rejecting from this 4-hour bearish high. So that is the only thing keeping this trade level for now. But once we do break the 4-hour bearish high, we should see, and I think gold just dropped down there. Look at gold, right? Just went straight into demand. So this is why you always want to wait for the perfect entry. Now, where would I look to buy gold? Honestly, for gold, for any buys, wait for the retest or foreclosure above the 9 EMA on the 5-minute. So I wouldn't, even in this demand zones, maybe you can scalp in and out, maybe for like 10 pips, but you can see how it's rejecting, right? Came into this demand zone within a demand zone, like around 1981, spiked all the way back up for 20 pips. So you can definitely scalp quick buys on gold in this zone. But what I'm waiting for is really this EU trade. US 30, we need that golden cross to come up. Now, so for this particular trade, right, you always also want to check out an exit for your trade, like where you're likely to exit a trade. So keep in mind, right, what do we have around here? We have a 4-hour bearish high that price is literally rejecting from. We do have a hourly bearish high and an hourly bearish low. So for me to start reconsidering this trade, if price comes back down and closes below this hourly bearish high on the 5-minute, at that point I might start reconsidering or looking to possibly exit this trade. However, you can see we also do have hourly bullish zones that are down here, 30-minute bullish zones. We do have Friday low here. So, and our stop loss is all the way below there. So keep in mind, for me, this trade, I am using a 100 pip stop loss, 100 pip take profit, but still risking the same. Gold, yeah. Yeah, so for me, a buy on gold, a good buy on gold at this point would be closure above the 9 EMA and then retest of the 9 EMA and closure above. That would be my ideal buy. and keep it like for me, the trades for gold, it's a 50 pip take profit, 50 pip stop loss. So for me, going for like 10 pips or 20 pips is not really worth it if my strategies have not aligned or confirmed. However, I do know there are people who have other strategies there. So you can use, so I did tell you guys 1983 to 1976, that is a buy zone for gold. So if you have other confluences that align with that, feel free to go ahead and buy gold around that zone. But for me, for a buy on gold, I will wait for closure above the 9 EMA on the 5 minute. So US 30 is around break even. So still waiting for this. So when this two cross, when the 9 EMA crosses the 200, we should see either a surge to the upside or a slow trend to the upside for US 30. See. Yeah, so EU will take a while to get to the buy zones. All right, so US 30, so this is what we want, right? So we want price retesting our entry. That's perfect. The worst thing is when price goes below your entry. So whenever price is retesting your entry, that's ideally, especially if you have your strategies lined up, that's ideally a good thing. So no need to panic. The only instance where you should start reanalyzing this trade is if we get a 5 minute closure below this hourly bearish high, bearish low down here. So if price comes down, retraces and closes below around 33,430, that's the only time I would say we need to analyze, re-strategize or reconsider the trades. But when US 30 is testing, or whatever instrument you're trading is testing your entry, that's to me that's a good thing. I mean, it's better if you go straight into profit, but ideally that's a good thing. But this trade is also no drawdown trade, and there you go with the spike to the upside. So keep in mind the reason we're in this trade, ideally we are bullish on US 30 for now. We do have a golden cross on the 5 minute. Price came from demand zones. We do have a weekly bullish low that's coming up here. So what we need right now is for price to close above this. So this 4 hour bearish high that's right here, this is what's keeping price down. So this 4 hour bearish high, if we do have a 5 minute closure above the 4 hour bearish high, we should be golden on this trade, because the next, I really don't care about the 15 minute bearish high in this instance. What I'm looking for is this weekly bullish low that's also around the weekly open. So we just need a, and there you go, our golden cross just formed.
Are we waiting on the retest of the golden cross? I
No,
had
no, no,
missed.
no. Yeah, I'm already in the trade. You can wait for the retest. Ideally, the retest was this candle. So yeah, but for me, I entered earlier. And I gave reasons why I entered earlier. But there goes your retest of the area. So this far bearish zone, that's ideally what's keeping price below. Now, if this candle, let's see how big of a candle it is. So we were up 66, 96. If this candle closes as a bullish hammer candle, so if this candle reverses, closes as a, because if it reverses and closes, it will close as a bullish hammer candle. I will enter with a bigger lot size. So I'll scale in the buy. And probably go for like 10 or 20 pips and close both trades out. So let's see, that trade was up 467. So the trade was up about 30 or so pips. All right, so see gold, right? So for me to buy gold, I would need a closure above the 9 EMA, retest and closure above the 9 EMA. That's the only time. But I did say down here there were buy zones. However, I wasn't looking. I didn't have any confluences to enter the buy. So for some of these zones, either entering on impulse or setting pending orders around this supply and demand zones. EU is possibly reversing up. That's fine. Let's see. All right, so still holding this trade. Let's see, another thing to look at for. Okay, so this is still good. So, right, so what I told you guys, so if price does come and close below this what is it? It's a 4 hour, it's a 4 hour bearish low. Actually, it's not an hourly bearish. So there's this hourly bearish low. So when you start reconsidering or looking to exit, possibly exit and cut your losses for this trade, is if you see price closing below this hourly bearish low. And then we also do have a 4 hour bearish low here. But keep in mind, we do have an hourly bullish high, hourly bullish low, 30-minute bullish highs and lows right here. So our stop loss is way at the bottom of that. But remember, these are so around 33,448 and around 33,432. Those are the only places you should be monitoring for closing out early of that trade. But right now, we should still be good for this particular trade. Trying to see if there's any other opportunities for, so EU definitely, EU is still melting to the, or tried to reverse up, so nothing on EU. Gold, unless you're scalping from this buy or demand zones right here, that's the only time you would be trading. But right now, you can see the trend line on EU is all the way up here. So unless price comes up, retest the trend line, that's the only place I would be looking to buy EU, is if price retraces and comes up. But right now, the only trade I'm in right now is for US 30, is this US 30 buy.
Yeah, it came in a little late today. What was the reason for the US 30 buy there?
We have a golden cross on the 5-minute. US 30, the momentum is to the upside, or was to the upside when we started analyzing. We had US 30 coming from this demand zones that are shaded here in green. Yeah, so ideally that was the premise. And also we do have a weekly bullish low up here, which supersedes any other, because the weekly time frame is pretty much the highest time frame I start marking up, even though beginning tomorrow I'll start marking up the monthly time frames. But yeah, so we do have a weekly bullish low. We do have US 30 respecting and grabbing liquidity from these demand zones. And then we do have the golden. So the golden cross gave us the entry for the trade. And for this particular trade, I did say I am using 100 pip stop loss, 100 pip take profit, as opposed to the 50 pip stop loss and 50 pips take profit that I normally use, but I'm still risking the same amount. So I'm just risking 0.5% for this trade. So if that
Just
makes
curious.
sense.
So that makes sense, but that huge downtrend there before you took the trade, was there anything stopping from just going down to the 1 minute, drawing your trend line, and then just entering on the breakout?
What huge
At the
downtrend?
very, like,
What, this one?
Yeah, like there. Yeah, I just kind of have on my chart where I just drew a trend line there on the 1 minute to all the, the lower lows and stuff, and then once it broke out, then that's where I had my entry. Was that something? Was it something that I'm missing where you shouldn't enter there, or
Oh, no,
was it
no, no. I
just a
mean,
late
yeah, you
buy?
can you can enter from there, because even for this, so when I was looking for this buy, I wanted to call the buy down here from the 15-minute bullish low and 30-minute. However, I needed a trend line. But anyway, for me, I don't draw the only times I draw trend lines on the 1 minute is if I don't have is if I have a hanging trend line on the 5 minute. So for me, most of my trend lines, I will always maintain them on the 5 minute. I only go to the 1 minute if I have a hanging trend line on the 5 minutes. So a hanging trend line is a trend line that does not have a second point of confluence. So, but for example, like this trend line, for me, it makes sense because it's a higher high to a lower high. However, before this lower high was established, this trend line was only a hanging trend line. Now, if you do draw trend lines on the 1 minute and you consistently use them and they work for you, then that's good. So keep in mind, there's no proper way of doing it. For me, I just prefer having my trend lines on the 5 minute if I can. Yeah, but if you go to
Alright,
the
that makes sense.
if you go to the 1 minute, so even the original entry that I probably wanted to take, which was around here, let's see. The reason I don't do it on the 1 minute, you have so many candles, and B, so many points of confluences. So you have a bunch of higher highs, a bunch of high lows. So that's why I prefer the 5 minute better, because just by looking up here on the 1 minute, probably because I'm not used to trading it, so for example, here I can see this trend line from this lower high going all the way here around there to the downside. I have this, but whether you're doing it on the 1 minute or 5 minute, they will almost always hold. So let's see, if you go on the 5 minute, we do have this. Yeah, even on the 5 minute, it's holding. However, right, what's the issue here on the 5 minute? Right? Like on the 1 minute, this trend line makes sense and it's a static. Did I change anything? I don't think I changed anything. This trend line makes sense and it's a static trend line because it's coming from a established structure. So a lower high to a higher high to a higher high to a higher high. However, the same trend line on the 5 minute for me is not a valid, for my strategies is not a valid trend line because it does not start from a established point of confluence. Not point of confluence, established structural
Right.
area. Yeah.
So just like could you draw the trend line that I have on my chart? So mine, if you go back to before the downtrend there.
On the 1 minute
On
or
the
on the
one-
5 minute.
On the 1 minute.
So this downtrend.
Move back a little bit further. Keep going back before all the uptrend move. Yeah, so that huge downtrend right there
This
on
one.
the 1 minute. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I kind of had my trend line drawn from let me see here. To where your chart is. Yeah, I had mine drawn from the very top there all the way, right to that second high there.
This one.
Yeah, right about where you're from.
Okay.
Pretty much there, yeah. Except it was high, yeah, like right, yeah, to that high there.
Okay. So it does work as a trend line. However, when I'm drawing trend lines, I don't like cutting through candles. Like I try as much as possible not to cut through any candles. So let's see. So if you drew it from there to there, yeah, I don't even see, I mean, I guess here you can say that it was retested, but anyway, point is, for me, I don't like cutting through a lot of candles if I can help it, if that makes sense. So yeah, if it worked for you, I mean, that's good. But for me personally, if I was to, like, I wouldn't even draw this primarily because it's cutting through all these candles.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just I didn't cut through any candles. I just kind of used the highest point, but I was just curious if it was something that would have been valid because obviously it went up, but was it just shit luck or is it?
Yeah.
That's all I was trying to get at. If it was something that was valid or not.
Okay. It should. So here's the other thing, right? How do you know a trend line is valid? A trend line, if a trend line is valid if you have price retesting, so breaking above it and closing, breaking above or breaking below, and then retesting the exact trend line, and then closing above or below. That is how you know a trend line is valid. And
Right.
and
Okay.
more times than not, so long as you're connecting your trend lines from
4 hours to
from a from a higher high or to a lower low or whatnot, so long as you have that, your trend line will almost always be valid. All right, so step number one, right? So price close below this hourly bearish low. So keep it, so long as you didn't over leverage or over risk, you should still be fine. So that's the first part. I said you might need to start reconsidering possible exit points, but this is only what 67. This is only 20 pips in drawdown, so that's nothing. Even though we were using our 50 pips stop loss, would still be good. So the last part is this 4-hour bearish low. Now, if it does close above this 4-hour bearish low, and I think I might be breaking up a little bit. I think I'm having some network issues. But anyway, if we do close below this 4-hour bearish low around 33,432, that's the last area you should start thinking, because at that point you would be like 50% of the trade is in drawdown. So that's where you would need to start thinking whether to cut your trade short at that point or just hold. For me, I still see no reason to exit this trade. So I am still in that trade. All right. So on the 5-minute, we only, oh, and I think it's past the streaming time, right? Oh, it's just 11. Okay, so we normally stop streaming at 11, and it is 11. I don't see any need of keeping the live stream going. I'm still gonna hold this position. If we do close above this trend line and get a retest and closure above, I might scale in with a bigger lot size at that point. But for now, I'm still gonna keep holding this trade. If I do scale in, I'll let you guys know. Our EU trade, I'm not sure if price is going to come down here anytime soon. Probably. So, right, the reason we're looking for this buys on EU is for completion of this structure. So I have my hourly chart to the right, and I'm looking for this structure to be completed back down to the downside. So keep in mind, these instruments don't always have to complete structure. This can ideally form this lower low, and this can be a high low. But more times than not, they will complete structure. Gold is going, okay, so I did say a buy on gold would be closure above the 9 EMA, retest and closure above. So this candle did close above the 9 EMA. This one ideally retested the 9 EMA, is not closing below. So a buy on gold would be closure of this candle. However, I'm not going to take that, given that it's Monday and we do have a lot of bank holidays. I'm just willing to risk 0.5 today, and there are really no trade setups that other than this US 30 trade and EU trade, I don't see any other trade setups. So I do see either trending for the rest of the day, or for some consolidation during the rest of the day. So yeah, the only trade that I'll take today is US 30. I did tell you guys, if we do get closure above this trend line coming from this higher high to this lower high, if we get a closure above the trend line and retest and closure above, I will enter another buy on US 30 with probably a larger lot size, and then I'll go for like a 20 pip take profit, and I'll aim to make about 0.875. So if I do enter this trade, probably I'll do it like a 50 lot or a 20 lot and go for like 20 pips take profit. And then at that point, there's no need for me to wait for this trade to hit take profit, because I'll have made about 0.875 with both trades combined. So it's all like a numbers game. But other than that, unless anybody has any questions, I will see you guys tomorrow. The trade is back in profit. So
one quick question. You said you'll look to scale up once it do what? Say it again. I'm sorry.
So yeah, so you see this trend line right here connecting this higher high to this lower high. So let me take off these drawings. So we do have this higher high here and this lower high, right? So what I did, I drew a trend line from this higher high to this lower high. So what I would be looking for is closure above that trend line and retest and closure above that trend line. So at that point, I will enter into a US 30 buy with probably a 50 lot or a 20 lot. Right now, I think I'm in a 10 lot. Yeah, because I'm only risking 0.5% over 200K. Yeah, so I'll enter in with probably like a 50 lot and go for like 20 pips take profit. The reason for that is this is an established trend line on the 5-minute because we have a higher high and a lower high. Also, we do have this weekly bullish low here, and I do anticipate for a surge in liquidity when price gets to the weekly bullish low. So keep in mind weekly, daily, and starting tomorrow, monthly markups rarely come. And when they do come, it's an amazing, it's one of those trades you can easily, you only need and let me know if I'm still breaking up. You only need 4 of such trades to pass any challenge in like just 3 trades. So yeah, so this zone, especially the weekly one, rarely comes up. So that's another reason why I'm looking to scale in. Let me know if you didn't get that. I think I broke up a little bit, but let me know if you need me to go
Yeah.
over.
So with that one, you were, it was kind of breaking up. You were saying something about 3 trades to pass a challenge.
Yeah.
Is that if it hits the weekly? Is that what I'm, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, weekly zones, daily zones. However, you need confirmation, right? So like for example, here for US30, if you just entered on impulse, like daily bearish low, right? If you entered on impulse here with a big lot size, you would have been right, your account would have been burned. So ideally for these zones, you want to wait for them, set an alert, and then wait for our confluences to align and enter with a bigger lot size, right? And also, so here's the other thing with this daily bearish low, right? And why I prefer the weekly bullish low to the daily bearish low. Ideally, if you're buying, right, where do you want to buy? You want to buy low and sell high, right? So this daily bearish low, it means that we had a daily bearish high somewhere. I don't know if I can trace it. Yeah, the daily bearish high was up here. So the best place to have sold US30, and this is during FOMC, right? I actually missed, but we did take the sell on during FOMC last week. So the best place to have sold US30 would have been at the daily bearish high, like if you're talking high time frame zones, right? And for those of you guys who traded with me for FOMC, we did catch this sell right here, and it went straight into profit. However, for me, I didn't get filled into this sell because my copier was off, but we were also able to catch the reversal buy. But ideally, for this daily zones, I would have ideally, you want to buy low and sell high if you're watching those high time frame zones, whether it's the monthly, the weekly, and the daily. So that's what I'm saying. The sell right here was perfect. This sell right here, daily bearish low, it could still materialize later on in the week. However, it's not one that I would be looking for. However, we have a weekly bullish low here. This is the first weekly zone that we have, and it's a bullish zone, and it's a weekly bullish low. I would only be concerned if it was a weekly bullish high. But here, this ideally gives us an amazing opportunity to buy at an optimal price and right price to the upside. So that's why I would be looking to scale in with a bigger lot size when price closes above our trend line, retest the trend line and closes above. Because ideally, if I'm going for 20 pips, the weekly bullish low is ideally would be like 10 pips away from my entry. And if price touches that weekly bullish low, just you'll literally see a spike up in liquidity. So it's just a waiting game. Does
Okay.
anybody? Yeah.
I'm gonna send you something. If you can just take a look at it. I think I kind of understand what you're saying, but I'm gonna send you something so I can kind of see like a visual.
Okay.
I'll send it to you
Okay.
sometime today.
All right. So that's the trade for gold. I did not take it, but I told you guys for a buy on gold. So I've been saying during the whole live session, wait for closure above the 9 EMA. For me, the only reason I'm not taking it is we have bank holidays. I don't like trading also after 11. If it was before 11, like maybe 10 or 10:30, I would have taken the buys. But I did say for a buy on gold, wait for closure above the 9 EMA on the 5 minutes. So we did have that with this candle. And then I said, wait for the retest of the 9 EMA and closure above. So this candle did exactly that. And that would have been the buy for gold. However, I'm not looking to take it. I'm not going to take it. Do I expect it to keep going up? Sure, I do expect it to keep going up to possibly test this trend line. In any case, I'm looking for sales on gold, but I would look for sales on the retest of this trend line and closure below. But for today, I'm satisfied with this US 30 trade and possibly get an entry for the EU trade later on. Does anybody have any other questions? No? If not, I'll
Yeah,
uh-huh.
just a little question. So if you scale in the trade, what would be your stop loss?
If I'm scaling the trade, let's see, if I'm using a 50 lot, probably if I'm using a 50 lot, okay, if I'm scaling the trade, God, it
What
depends.
would be your risk?
It depends, right? So what lot size am I using? I think this thing is still breaking up. Let me see if I can fix that connection. Give me 1 second and I'll answer your question. Let me switch it to this. Just 1 second. Okay. Hopefully that's better. Okay, so this is how I'd go about it. I'm looking to make probably, if I scale in trades, I'm looking to make a return of about 0.875 or 1% for the day. So let's just use 1% to make the numbers easier. So for a 200K, 1% is what? 2,000, right? Okay, so if this trade comes up here where I'm looking to scale in, ideally this trade would be 50 pips in profit or halfway in profit. So that would mean I would already be up 0.25 for the day, right? Because remember, our risk for this trade is only 0.5. So if this trade comes around this zone, I would be up 0.25 for the day. I'm looking to make about 1% for the day if I'm scaling in. So if I'm scaling in with a bigger lot size, okay, so 0.25 for this trade, I'll be up like 500 bucks when price reaches here. Okay, I need to make 1,500 more to make 1% on a 200K. So if I enter a 30 lot, or let me just say a 50 lot, because that's probably what I'll do. If I enter a 50 lot, I just need what? 40 pip? No, I need, I'm already up 500. I'm trying to do this math. I only need 1,500. So I only need a 30 pip. I only need the trades to go my direction for 30 pips. So at that point, I can go for 1:1. So I can do a 30 pip stop loss, 30 pip stop loss, 30 pips take profit for that trade. If that makes sense. Yeah. But always use our if in doubt, always use our static stop loss and take profit. So remember, for US 30, it's always 50 pips take profit, 50 pips stop loss. For this trade, I did say to use a bigger stop loss and TP because we didn't know if price would come back and retest the 9 EMA, which it did. But when in doubt, just use our basic stop loss and TP. So for you indices, 50 pips take profit, 50 pips stop loss. For FX pairs, 20 pips stop loss, 20 pips take profit. For gold, 50 pips take profit, 50 pips stop loss. So whenever you're in doubt or whenever you need to calculate how much you need to risk, just use those numbers. And if you're gonna increase your stop loss and take profit, just reduce your lot size, and ideally you'll still risk the same. So I'm still so if I was going for a 50 pips, 50 pip take profit and stop loss on this trade, I would have entered with a, what is it? I think a 20 lot or maybe a 10 lot. Let me see what I'm filled in with. I'm filled in with a 10 lot, right? So if I had taken this trade with a 50 pips take profit, 50 pips stop loss, while still risking 0.5% of my account or of the 200K, I would have entered this trade with a 20 lot. But since I increased this stop loss and TP by another 50 pips, I'm only in this trade with a 10 lot, if that makes sense. So as you play around with the TP and stop loss, if you increase your TP and stop loss, just reduce your lot size. If you decrease your TP and stop loss, you increase your lot size. Ideally, the risk will still be the same. So don't be worried about the lot sizes. Always focus. So that's why I always say, for every trade you have a take profit, have a stop loss. If the trade makes sense and it hits stop loss, don't feel bad. Just go back, try and see what may have happened, why you didn't win that trade, and then the next time that happens, you'll be better. If you win a trade, make sure you know why you're winning a trade. Of course, be excited when you win a trade, only if you knew why you were entering the trade. If you FOMO and win a trade, honestly, I don't count that as a win, because anybody could have just closed their eyes and did what you did. But just go ahead, analyze your trades, enter the trade if it makes sense. Don't worry if it hits stop loss or take profit. Just let the trade play out and then analyze what happened during and after the trade. Does anybody have any other questions?
Thank you, bro.
No.
So,
Okay.
last question, quick question. So we're just waiting on the re-entry was for it to break the trend line and retest it, correct?
Yes. So that would be where you'd scale in buy on US30. And right now US30 is back up in profit, 40, what is that, 40 pips or 35 pips? So this is what's so don't worry about the 4-hour bearish low for now, right? So they already used the 4-hour bearish low to come back down and pick up liquidity. So they're gonna bust through this 4-hour bearish low. So the next issue, or not the next issue, the next roadblock for our trade is actually the trend line. It's not really the 4-hour bearish low. It's not really the 4-hour bearish high. So I do see us closing above this 4-hour bearish high, but due to how close the 4-hour bearish high and the trend line is, I do see an almost automatic spike to the upside and closure above the trend line. So I'm not worried about the 4-hour bearish low anymore. The next roadblock for this trade is this trend line. But so long as we close above the trend line and retest, that will be a golden for our US30 buy. Any other last questions? Yeah, but for the scaling, you need a closure above the trend line, and then you need to wait for the next candle to retest the trend line and close above the trend line. So don't, just because you've had a closure above, don't hop in on impulse on the next candle, because the next candle can literally just shoot to the downside and take you out, especially if you're using a bigger lot size. If you guys are comfortable just holding this trade without scaling in, go ahead and do that. You should be hopefully make 0.5 for the day if we are about to cross. But for me, I hate, well, not hate, I prefer not to hold trades past around 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, if that makes sense. So that's the only reason why I'm looking to scale in, is ideally to get out of this position earlier. Not that it's not going to hit take profit or anything, but I just don't like holding positions for a long period of time. All right. Any other questions? No. All right. Other than that, use proper risk management. Remember, for our trades, if you're 50 pips or ideally 50% of the trade in profit, set break even or secure half and set break even, whichever you do. But we are 10 pips away from let's see how much we're in profit. So this trade is in profit 67 to 97. Yeah, so this trade is about 30 pips in profit. So whenever you're 50 pips in profit, go ahead and secure set break even for that trade and just let it ride. So I'll be doing the same thing. When this trade is 50 pips in profit, I'll go ahead and set break even for that trade. Any last questions? Okay, if not, I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time. So keep in mind that the next few days, the live session will be starting at around 9:45 or 9:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I have a meeting that I need to join for the next few days during market open. But other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.